except one last house, whose gates no one would pass. To this spooky old mansion the craving children went. To the last of the town's candy, they were fast on its scent. On the path of shattered sleep they cautiously walked, brutal by far and wide. The dark
Okay, so I want to give a short walkthrough of the different techniques I used building this yard. I'll start with these tombstones, which admittedly are pretty basic. I don't put any detail on them, but that's because I wanted to make them quickly, and maybe one year I will do more to it. Basically, it's this foam I got from some bulk supplier. I projected shapes I found on the internet, used a marker to outline them, and then I cut them with, I think, a hacksaw or something. On the back, the way I fix them is I put a stake in the ground, I drill 2 holes in it, and then I bind it with wire. That means you actually can see wire on the front, but you really don't notice it. A lot of this, my attitude towards this yard is, don't worry about the details, just get the big effects to work right. The next one effect would be these pumpkins. The way that works is there's a projector here. I don't have it out during the day. And let's go take a look at one of these projectors. So it's gonna maybe rain tonight, and this is the first year I've done this, so a little worried about rain protection, especially for a $150 projector and $30 Raspberry Pi. So I put it in a Tupperware box from Walmart. I got a little case fan and use zip ties there. It's sitting on top of a little baking dish, and that's so if water does get in there, at least it's not sitting on the water. And then I let the Raspberry Pi just be loose, mostly so that it's has good airflow, although perhaps that's not the best idea. There's a power strip in here. Partially it's a circuit breaker, but it's also the rest of these cords I can feed in here, and it's another water protected source of power. This is the second projection. This is from Atmos Effects. This is their witch. This is their inflatable form, and the sheet that comes with it. It works really well, except of course that because it's air, it'll blow out of the way. So if you look at the back, I went to my little metal supermarket and got this scrap metal. It's all angle iron, and I think I spent about $10 on that, and it took me a whole 15 minutes to weld together, and now it's a great stand. It really doesn't move at all. Let's move on. What else we have? There are a bunch of little lights around here. Some of them are on all the time. Some of them flash on and off. That's controlled. Yeah, this is a box that I used the first year, and it really isn't used much right now, but it's effectively a Arduino and a little relay board, and then hooked up to a bunch of outdoor wall outlets. The problem is this is all actually, the lights are timed for a completely different event, but they do flash on and off, and I haven't felt like reprogramming yet. But maybe I'll do that today, probably not. And finally, a really basic cauldron creep. This is a wiper motor for I think a Jeep or something, but it was something I got new off eBay. I ended up buying 2 wiper motors. One of them I couldn't get to work at all, and this one worked just fine, especially when hooked up to a 5-volt power supply instead of the 12. The 12 is way too fast, and I think 3 would even be better, but I had a 5 with me, so that's what it was. This is really basic, normal construction. You can see there's long poles here, there's angle connections, then 90 degrees, some connectors. I did use the primer and glue to keep it all together, and it seems to be working pretty well. One note on the cup design here, this piece of metal, the original bolt that came with it, and then the cup actually came apart a couple times because it's a screw and bolt, so I ended up drilling a hole through the screw and putting some wire through it, so it's kind of like a cotter pin. So that's it. There's not a whole lot to it. Really the only thing that isn't new this year would probably be the relay board over there. I have actually new pumpkins from Atmos Effects. I have this new form. Well, the gravestones are old, but it didn't take very long, and it looks pretty good at night. So it's a short walkthrough of my little haunted yard for 2017. Little last minute rain protection for these outlet connectors. My original plan was to use these. These are lifts for, I think, a bed. And the idea is you put one on top of the other and it elevates but also protects it. And I saw someone on YouTube do this with a 5-gallon bucket, but a 5-gallon bucket out here is going to be really obvious. So then I tried maybe putting in gallon bags, but gallon bags, of course, can have a large opening and water can pool inside. So then I decided I'd come up with what, actually uses for luggage and boats. You shrink wrap it a lot, and then I shrink wrapped it around some Tupperware, and that elevates it off the ground. I think this will work actually really well. So we'll see.